2019. Things were simpler then. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about the sequel that's over 30 years in the making, Blade Runner 2049. 30 years after the events of the first film, Blade Runner's discovery of a long-buried secret leads him to track down former Blade Runner Rick Deckard, who's been missing for decades. First things first, was it worth it returning to the franchise? It's a pretty easy answer. For fans of it, it is. Here's just a few of the reasons. First, we get to learn about what happened to Deckard and Rachel after they ran. We get to see how LA has changed in 30 movie years, and it's even more of a brightly fantastical and noisy ad-filled wonderland. Oh, and for those wondering, Coke is still winning the soda pop wars. We get to see what happens to a replicant when the 4-year lifespan is eliminated. We not only get to see LA, but we also get to see what happened to both Las Vegas and San Diego in this movie's world, with San Diego getting the worst of it. We get to learn about what happened after the Tyrell Corporation had to sell to the Wallace Corporation, which of course leads to newer, more obedient replicants. For those wondering, you should definitely check out the first one before checking out the sequel. Though yes, you could probably pick enough to enjoy this movie to really get what's going on, you need to have seen the first film. If you haven't seen this movie, I would recommend you watch the final cut, which seems to have the most complete story out of all the different versions. While the atmosphere of this movie is a big selling point, the performances are as well. First, let's talk about Ryan Gosling. He commands the pacing, emotion, and tone of the entire movie. Gosling plays his Blade Runner character in a mostly cool and calm manner, but there are times that he knows when to let those emotions loose. Unlike Deckard, who people argue on whether he is a replicant or not, within the first 10 to 20 minutes of this movie, we know exactly what Gosling's character is. Is he a replicant? Is he not a replicant? Well, you don't have to wait too long to find out. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't more to that story, though. I'm just happy that they got what could have been a cheap plot trope out of the way. Now let's talk about Harrison Ford, who returns as the character Rick Deckard. Somewhat like Star Wars The Force Awakens, you have to wait a while into this movie when his story finally comes into play. I do have a feeling that some might be a bit disappointed with his lack of screen time. For me, Gosling is so good in this movie that it's okay for Deckard to be more of a plot device and less of a lead. All things considered, though, Ford is still really good as Deckard and he hasn't lost a step. Ana de Armas is really good as Ryan Gosling's character's girlfriend. While the movie didn't really have a totally original take on their love story, what they did with that love story really worked for me. Jared Leto put on what I can really just call a very calm performance. That being said, he's kind of the typical wants to play God type of villain. Now, Sylvia Hoek's character is the real villain of the movie. She is extremely violent and menacing when she needs to be. I mean, she commanded the bombing of people while getting a techno manicure. The actors in smaller roles also helped to tell the story. Dave Bautista's character basically set the curiosity of the entire movie with one phrase, and no, I'm not going to spoil that phrase for you because it would ruin the entire plot. The ever-amazing Robin Wright basically plays the generic tough LT but makes it her own. Then there's Lenny James. Love him on Walking Dead? You'll hate him here. Lastly, there's a cameo from a Blade Runner original, and he's also a personal favorite of mine. While it seems like I'm heaping the praise on this movie, I will have to say that there are some issues that some people might have with it. First is the movie's length, which is nearly 3 hours long. This might be a bit of a turnoff for the casual moviegoer. Next is the slow pace of the story. Look, I love a good slow burn, and I really liked it in this movie, but even I could admit that it being paired with the long runtime can be a little tedious. The last issue some people might have with the movie is the moment of Uncanny Valley. After seeing Rogue One, I was afraid this was going to happen because the filmmakers needed something from the first movie. While they do use it and you get that little bit of a feeling, at least it's not as distracting as Rogue One because it's not on screen very long. So, is Blade Runner 2049 worth checking out? Well, if you love the original film or even just liked it, yeah, you're going to dig it. That being said, I don't think it's going to win over anybody that didn't like the original. For me, I really enjoyed it, but I probably won't watch it again for a long time, just like the first movie. Okay, I can't avoid it any longer. I know you want to find out, is Deckard a replicant? Well, I'm sorry, I'm not telling because I don't know. The movie doesn't answer the question, but I will say that it does address it in a very pivotal scene in the movie. To the surprise of nobody, this film's story does give you some answers, but it also leaves you with even more questions. As always, thank you so much for watching. What did you think of Blade Runner 2049? Feel free to comment out down in the section below, but remember, it's only just one guy's opinion. I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino. Till next time.